Okay. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for a session post TechX. So, if you followed us in the last few days, we've been to Amsterdam again to participate and to chair the Digital Transformation Week, where we've seen great leaders and basically also great companies evolving in the emerging technology and channel space. We wanted to bring back some of them, starting with Rodrigo. Rodrigo, thank you for joining us. And
Thanks for
Rodrigo, I
having
will
me.
yes, and if you can just give us a little bit of who you are, just a mini CV, just so that the people who are watching us can understand who we have in front of us.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Rodrigo Krasnicki. I'm based in the Netherlands, and currently I'm leading a data analytics team at Coca-Cola Europacific Partners, and I focus on the customer service and supply chain space. I'm
Thank you,
working for
Rodrigo. And
15 years in the industry. Oh, sorry. Go on.
no, go ahead, go ahead. No, no, please go ahead. It's okay.
Yes, I've been working 15 years in the industry, local, regional, and global teams, and mostly lately on the data analytics space and focusing on initiatives like decision intelligence, digital twins, smart portfolio management, and emerging technologies like Gen AI and blockchain.
And what's your background? Is it like more tech? Is it more engineering? Can you just tell
Yes, I'm
us?
an engineer by training.
Oh, okay. That makes sense actually, with what we are going to see next. So from the by far the demand, you were one of the ones speakers, at least for my track at the Transformation Week in Amsterdam, that had quite a lot of questions, and we also wanted to follow up after this event to answer some of the questions that I managed to collect in the meantime. So we are going to do this in a conversation manner. It's not going to be a keynote. It's not going to be something complicated. We are going to keep it really low key. Rodrigo, thanks again for giving us the time to do this follow-up. We are not going to deep dive into secret and complicated question. We are going really to focus on what is the secret sauce that made that transformation or that journey possible for Rodrigo and his project. And what I would like you to keep in mind is how you can extract those takeaways and apply them into your company wherever you are in the industry, right? So, Rodrigo, just to come back on your presentation, I'm going to pull up some slides and I'm going to navigate through them with a couple of questions. So you focused your slides on the supply chain and you presented your journey on how you adopted, data and Gen AI, or at least going into a journey where you make that part of your organization way smarter to achieve your strategic imperatives. So from the first question that I had from that particular slide here, when you come back on this journey, this landscape, you as an individual, did you receive this as a mandate from the top manager or from a strategic agenda, or were you the one starting with a vision and you adapted your knowledge to that project so that you can steer the project where it is right now?
This all starts as part of like our strategic business objectives. So aligned like with our long-term roadmap and with our commercial needs, we develop like our data and analytics strategy. And now data analytics and AI, of course. When we started the journey, it was more focused on data analytics, and since then, like we introduced the AI piece, and that's back since 2017. But it's
I think
not a mandate;
this is
it's part of our
important,
strategy.
right? Just to cut you here, but this is important. You just said it started with a data plan, right? It's almost something you didn't started with Gen AI being like on a destination. It is really you had a plan already on how you will leverage data for your organization, right? That's what I understand.
Exactly. I mean, like we believe that the data needs to be treated as an asset, and like we need a strong foundation. So data and technology sits at the bottom of our all the initiatives and like of our strategic framework.
Makes sense. And every day now, when it comes to this type of activity within your team, within the business partner, what would be something that you will say from planning the journey, executing the journey, right, inside the company? What will be the first thing that comes to your mind as a leitmotif or something that can be retrospectively, yeah, if we are starting a project like that, this is the thing that actually made it a success or made it actually move on. Can you describe us those little things that makes a difference on your everyday working day?
Sure. I think the first one is like strategic alignment. So if you have the strategic goals of the company, it's going to be much easier to sell it to your stakeholders. So strategic alignment and like a leadership engagement. So the leadership should know what you are investing on and like what are we spending time on. So it needs to be like we need to have the strategic alignment and the leadership alignment. Once we have that, it goes to the business side. So we need like a
Makes
good
sense.
contact with the business. We need a good business partners and like a vision.
I think this is what you had in that particular slide, what you just described. Yes. So when it comes to the vision, so it's clear. So it means that once you know what good looks like as an organization, you've been, and tell me if what I interpret right is right. It means that you managed to get at least your own definition of what needs to be done, and from that definition, you started basically to go into that horizon, which you guys define as the foundation or the platform that you can leverage, right? This is what I understand.
Yes, that's correct. So
And
like what
once you
we
have,
ultimately, sorry, what we
yeah, no,
ultimately
no,
aim
yeah,
to
go
build
ahead.
is really this AI factory. So starting from a strong foundation, single source of the truth, building data assets that are usable, and then doing pilots and applications, data products that we can scale with speed. So by then, like reaching an AI factory. So each new
And
use case
it's
will get more value and
and
cheaper.
it's and it's not just in this particular section of your company. So it feels to me that all your company is moving towards that horizon of being a data-driven company, right? It's not just supply chain. It feels to me that you have like moving pieces going to the same direction, right?
Exactly. I mean, it's a single vision for the whole company. Doesn't matter if it's a customer service, supply chain, commercial, marketing, or sales. It's a single vision.
That's good. I think this is an important message because this is to people who are listening to us and do pilots. And usually, when you do a vision in a, I would call it in a essay tube, right? Which is the right vision, but it's siloed from everyone else reality. This is what we see in some other industries that you're not in. But the reason of some chaotic projects, it's because people really didn't have that homogeneous vision. I think what I get away from you at that stage is that having that unicity of the strategy and understanding the challenges in the implementation makes it something that will stand on its legs for long. Okay.
Exactly.
Anything else that you can share on that particular slide? Because that I got some kind of questions after you spoke at in Amsterdam. Uh, you had those four key pillars for success, which kind of, yeah, this is something we could say are understandable for a project of that magnitude and of that type of topic. But if you look at yourself as a leader, as a someone who is driving this every day, what else can you share with us that someone can adapt to his own project on his daily routine? For example, on the governance, on the communication, on the agility for taking decision or the art of taking decisions. Can you give us a little bit of what you've been through as an individual.
The key differentiating factor is all like about the people. So like the people with the right mindset. So it put us last, but I would say that can come first. So the right people with the right mindset in place. Then like it would naturally driving having aligned KPIs, working on data assets that drive value to the business, that like working with data assets that are reusable, that we treat them as assets, but it always starts with like the right mindset in place.
I think this is something that people undervalue very much in that type of project is the word culture, right? When we see this type of project charter is usually done in this people process platform manner, and there is something hidden, which is the culture, this culture for
Yes.
change and this culture for the data, where we say data will not lie. If we become a data-driven organization, we'll take better decision, because we'll have better insights. And if we have better insights, it's a feedback loop, right? It's always like getting better and better and better. It's almost when you can say quantity becomes quality. Will you agree with this?
Yes. Another thing that we say is like a culture, it's a strategy for breakfast. So
Yeah, it's true. It's true. So I'm going to go to the next slide that I think we got a couple of question on. So when it comes to this is basically where you were sharing. You had not only this implementation done for your area, but it is a flux view, right? So usually when I present this type of questions to teams who wants to implement, I say you have companies who have a monolithic view of data, and basically they store data a lot, but that data is like a glacier; it doesn't really move. And then you have this flux view of data where it is streamlined across the organization. What this makes me interpret is that from the get-go, you had also on the operating model a vision to make the data like fluid, liquid, right, inside the
yes,
organization. Can you give us some insights on this?
the idea is that the data shouldn't be siloed and like concentrated on one department. So like the IT department owns the data. The data needs to be maintained. So we have like data stewards to maintain the data, but we also have data owners. And the
Mhm.
data needs to be accessible. So whoever needs the data in the organization, they need to have access. And then they need to have access to that data to make the right decisions. So it's all about like we say data democratization, the right data to the right people at the right time.
It's almost you're describing this as data is this live asset, right? It has a live
Yes,
shelf, right? And
that's
in
why the
some
second
organization,
principle,
yeah, this one.
yes, yeah, I mean the third principle was managing data as an asset. So it's really
Yeah,
data being reusable, reliable, and of quality assured.
I think those principles are quite universal, right? You could apply them to any organization, or at least the ones that wants to really take the curve and become a data-driven organization. These are principles that you can reiterate, right? It's not
Yes,
linked to just supply chain, and it's not linked to just CPG brands. It could be something that is applicable for others. And if I look at now your journey, so I liked when we prepared this, we were saying gosh, everyone is talking about AI and everyone is like buzzing about it, and there's this hype, and it shouldn't be. It's a journey. I mean, we are in a journey for changing those type of organization. When I look at your slide and the way you presented it, it's clear that you as a leader in that space, but also your company, they didn't started when OpenAI started, right? It has been a bit of a visionary plan, right? So can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because I think this is also where I want other industries to see your maturity when it comes to that type of topic.
yeah, sure. I mean, we always say it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And as you can see, like the journey started long before OpenAI and Gen AI came into the picture. It all started like with the vision to build a strong data foundation, and with data again that are reusable, reliable, and of good quality, and accessible to all the people in the business that need the data. So, I mean,
And
what we started was really like on data foundations, technology stack, then like started to introduce more, let's say, the knowledge of experts, like proving the value on AI, and then doing data science explorations and building the strategy, and then all along like the data mindset and the mindset program.
and a question on the when we come back on this people process platform, it seems that in your transformation journey, it started with a platform, right? It like bringing the right technology stacks to be able to operate. When started the or how started the people transformation? Did you recruited new people, new blood to the company in your department, for example, or were there more an upscaling of existing skills within the company? I think it's a fair
Oh,
question
yes.
for some people who wants to transform, right?
I would say the latter, but I mean, it's no harm, or I think it's even more valuable to start that first. Of course, like I mentioned, start with the data and technology, but we need the right mindset in place. So it is no harm to start like first, like with a data literacy program, even before you
Mhm.
start like with the data foundations. And yes, we
That
brought
makes
like new
sense.
people. We also upscaled the existing ones and created the whole, let's say, data literacy teams and programs and the mindset programs.
Yeah. So it's not just magically happening because you bought a tool. It's also because you had the right human beings around and the right people around who knew how to operate this and take this vision to life, on the operation side. I think this is a message that is quite important. And just before we go to the next one, what do you expect as the next thing, right? You've been on that journey. 2023, we are, on the edge of going to 2025. Can you share your views, your vision from a more of a, I would like to hear you more than your company actually. Where do you
Yeah.
see this evolution going?
I see it going more like on a decision-centric value chain or decision-centric operations. We call like a AI plus Gen AI frontier, but it's all about having these new technologies to support us making better decisions and focusing on the three like main spaces that I see: that's decision support, decision augmentation, and decision automation. So these all,
I
let's
see.
say, contributing to a more decision-centric value chain.
I think we'll come back to this one. I think that this is an interesting deep dive. We will come back to this. I just wanted also to highlight the people who are listening to us that, as you rightly said, in your organization and in your role, it has never been sold as a siloed project. It
Yeah.
is part of a life cycle. And I think this is what makes it, at least this is what I liked in your presentation. It really highlighted the impact and the value transfer with that type of data transformation. And everyone can basically pick up what they need at scale, right? Because you have the data and then you can supply it at scale. So everyone can come from the buying side or from the sell side, from the market side. Everyone can basically get what they want. Is this notion of kind of having a data store something that is in your plan? So something that you can say, I make it accessible, interoperable to anyone in the company. Is this part of your journey as well?
Yes. So what we say is like data democratization, right? And we have to supply this data via the right platforms. And the whole thing is that like the data is accessible that to the people that need that data, and the data comes from a single source of the truth. So we don't want, let's say, people getting data from different platforms and seeing, for example, different numbers. So we have also a team to make sure that we maintain and we have a single source of the truth. So if that
That
single
makes sense.
source, like the data unified data platform, people can get access and they have like their applications where they can get their insights to do their job better.
And the more the company goes into that direction, the more data you get, the more augmentation you get from all the
Yes.
touch points. But this
And
is this is a
faster
thing
to
where,
build, yes. And it's faster to build
yeah,
new use cases, gets faster and cheaper.
yeah, that's interesting. So let me jump to something else now before we come back to that framework you just explained to us. I'm going to jump straight to that part. Why I'm going to focus on that one? Because we've seen, let's say, plans, in different companies, it's kind of looking the same, but there is one thing in our experience that we kind of identified is organization can be very, very clear on their demand for success, or at least a strategic alignment. And companies can be very, very clear at finding the right people, the right technology partner, the right tools to make this happen. In our basically humble opinion, where shit hits the fan, if I can use that expression, is where we get into that middle ground, that's kind of piece in sandwich between those two. Do you agree with my statement right now that this is where, from a risk management, where there is the most attention to put? And if so, did you actually lived it as well? Was it something a bit more challenging to do in your project or organization, or was it basically because it was clear, a walk in the park? Can you give us a bit of a sense?
Yes, I think like having invested in the mindset and the literacy programs, like the operating model can make much easier. And the operating model is that where you have all the process to make sure that everything else gets done and gets done in the same way. So it's where we can scale and where we can sustain our ways of working. And
And
like I say, the journey
this,
is not easy, but it
yeah,
starts
please
with
go
the
ahead, go
right
ahead.
mindset in place.
So it's almost that you're describing this piece, like what we discussed before. It's this kind of, let's adopt it, but let's behave in a different way, so that we adopt that change. So it's almost that when you say data, mindset, and literacy, there is something, I will not call it like scientific behind. It's kind of the opposite. It's something that you cannot put with word. It's kind of a stance, that the way you
Yes.
stand in front of those topics. And that's a choice. As a company, as a leadership team, as an individual working in a team, it almost feels like either I get it and now I act and I stand upon it like that, and I take the bait, or basically I don't and I fight against it, right? It's almost cultural, I feel it at that point. Yeah. Okay, so that's
Yeah.
interesting because usually this is where we see the slowdown. And just to give us context, your project was more for region, if I remember right. It was a regional implementation. It was not a worldwide implementation, but I guess it was kind of replicated the same way in different parts of the world and adapted, right?
Yes. I mean, it's a global company. We are present in 31 countries. So, I mean, most of the program started in Europe and started being expanded to other regions in the Pacific.
Yeah. So it is possible to pilot it as well, right? It's not just a top down. I guess you also have to adapt this model to local realities. Um, so when it comes to this, I don't want to spend too much time on this because I think this is clear. Let me just go into this, right? The outcome. So what do we get out of this? What are the concrete things we can touch as transfer values when this is implemented? So you gave us some examples. Can you select some of them that are really, really touchable, right? That we can feel, because I'm sure you have many. You already did the selection, but can you illustrate one or two of them, please?
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing about the smart portfolio management is to drive the right discussions with the commercial teams. So when we are going to launch an innovation, we want to know like what is going to be the impact in my supply chain. So if is it better that I produce this in one country versus another? What is going to be the impact if I produce in this line? Is it maybe better that I do another product configuration or another pack configuration? What is going to be the impact and also the impact on my top line and my bottom line of my P&L? So these allow us to have the right discussions and also, let's say, listen to the manufacturing side. So identify the bottlenecks and say like, well, this SKU is really decremental for the line. It's better like if you replace with this one, you can gain 30% more volume, for example, if you act upon this recommendation. So these two is really, let's say, leveraging AI to have the right discussions with the business teams.
Which removes silo in a way, right? Because
Yes,
as an organization, you might had done a steering committee to wait for having someone presenting a candidate for a project. In here, basically, you're saying because the data is flooding across the company, it's accessible. People can do their own simulation if they want. They can basically ask the questions and they can receive the answers and take their own decision to tweak their product portfolio. I think
exactly.
that's a clear.
And we look at different lenses, right? Like we not like only looking at like a silo like manufacturing, but we also look at the commercial side and also at the customer and the consumer side. So you're never going to make a decision based only on one lens.
That's interesting. And you had a second one that was interesting as well. I think it can give really, really ideas. So this also optimization part. So looking at AI from a, I don't know, and I will ask, and I might have some new stuff coming up. But in here, it's basically looking back and getting retrospectively or prospectively better decision to avoid waste. Is this how I understand how you guys use this?
Yes, the idea is that we have the right visibility of, in this case, like the empty stock, like so the glass bottles that are usable. So we know where they are and we make sure that we have the right stock at the right time and at the right place. And we use AI to help like decision making. So as I mentioned like before, there are like three ways that you can use decision intelligence. It's like either decision support, where the artificial intelligence gives you the recommendation, or like they give you the insights and then you take the decision. But it's also like what we have explored more is the decision augmentation and automation. And that's where like the AI already has the view. So like say the few weeks ahead, look at all the plan and then run an optimizer to say, well, if you do this, you're gonna avoid these losses. You're gonna be able to fulfill more production orders and more customer orders. So that's the
And this is
decision
coming,
augmentation part.
and I see it, the word decision is coming, and I like it because of, you are creating this to take a faster, best decision for the business. So making
Yes.
you efficient and precise and understanding also the impact of your decision before you take them. So I think this is also a different lens on how to look at those projects when you implement them. It's not just cost efficiency, which is usually where people want to start. They say maybe we can save money somewhere. Actually, in here, it's to see potentially gaps, unmet needs, but also decision that you would have taken anyway. Now you can take them with a better certainty, with better backup. Am I getting where you're going, right, with this
Yes.
philosophy or
That's
vision?
That's correct. And it's not only cost, right? Like, I mean, like we have a strong like sustainability goals. And like we need to make sure that the decisions are also reflecting to that. So maybe it's not the most
Correct.
cost effective, but it's more effective it's the most sustainable one. It's going to be the one that like has the lowest emissions. So maybe instead of taking the one that is like the best on cost, we're going to take the one that is best for sustainability. So we have this chance to see the impact on the different areas.
And one question that I see here on this slide that you had on your recommendation, you are telling kind of four direction on what not to miss, right? To make it successful, invest in a solid data foundation, identify potential use case, assess the impact on the enterprise application, and adapt to governance policies. The thing that I think that created questions is what does it mean? How much is I mean, how do we qualify that we have a solid data foundation? How do we estimate how someone can say, because most of the company will tell you, like if I look at pharma companies, they will say, oh, we have millions of electronic health records, so we must be good in the data space, right? But so can we basically explain a little bit more what do you what do you say is a good solid data foundation? Just to give an example.
Yeah, I mean, like this is going to be natural, but I mean, the stronger the foundation that you see, nobody will question your data. When you
Yeah,
build a new data product and people start asking, okay, where is the data coming from? I don't recognize the numbers. You know that your data foundation is not strong enough. So people need to trust the data. You know, like, and I said, it
here we
needs to be
go.
single
So
source
yeah,
of the truth.
so it means that when you say the word trust, I think this is where I wanted to extract from you. It's more, it's not just a database that we are talking here. We are not just talking about a repository of data that is sitting somewhere in IT. What you are saying
Yes.
is a solid data foundation. It's something that is going to be actually recognized, verified, used, and acknowledged as being a source of truth for further metadata or third-party data exploration, right? So it's going to be that journey starting from something that we will say, this is our gold. This is where we recognize being something we can work from, right? So because
Exactly.
sometimes when you are in it, right? So I'm going to say something simple. You are already in it, and for you it's obvious. But for many people who are like at the board level or C level of companies who are asking themselves so much questions, this is for them. They understand the principle, but when it comes to those foundations, they if someone comes and say, "Oh yeah, I bought this kind of solution, and now our data is safe," they will say, "Oh, okay, we must have done the right thing." What you are saying is no. It's this is a currency, and the currency is based on that trust from one department to another to say, I recognize this, I can use it, I can augment its value, and I can basically make it circulate inside the organization. Am I getting this analogy right,
Yes,
right?
it is right. Like, I mean, the data shouldn't be questioned. People will see, they will trust. They will know that those numbers are right. So it's all about
And
trust.
trust, that's why I like the word trust because I'm trying to give to people something simple to transform their organization and recognize where there is those kind of locked silos, right? So, and I think your example in supply chain because it's supply chain needs to make something move from A to B, right? Anyway, so that's why it's a good analogy from a business perspective. And the second piece is in here when it comes to pilots. How do you identify a good pilot? So what does it mean basically to say, okay, let's start with the most complex one, like this, we know we stress tested the organization, or do you actually go for the quick wins to make sure you go step by step? So how do you approach it?
It needs to come from the business. So what are the problems that they are facing? So what are the questions that the business has? So the pilots should be there like to answer business questions and to help them to deliver more, sell more, or produce more.
But it's not linked to the complexity of the achievements or the feasibility of the pilot. It's more we have as a business team to do this. We want to gain more visibility, more accessibility, more interoperability around those data points. Can we do it? Yes or no? And then you basically scope it, right? That's
Yeah, I
how
mean,
that's how it.
we prioritize based on two levers. Like, so it's on the strategic fit, so it's aligned with the company goals, and like on the value. So
Yeah, I
can we
see.
scale it, and then can we does it drive value? But let's say this is how we prioritize. But how we let's say source this is really coming from the business. So I mentioned like in one of my slides that most of the initiatives that we have today, they came from our innovation pipeline, from our innovation channel, and these are
Yes,
recommended by employees. So they say like these would really
correct.
help me. They contribute ideas to, and then like those ideas get transformed into data products.
No, I think for me, listening to you, I get different, and thank you for taking the time to go through those questions. And I know it's not easy to come on stage, after you've done this. And I know we took it in more in a conversation format, but I think it's important. I think I really love the fact that you managed to take this journey in a very pragmatic way, aligned with the strategic vision and with concrete outcomes. I think this is the three axes that I've felt throughout your presentation and even today. It's very clear to feel that alignment. My natural question for you, and when we come at the end of that conversation, so where are you going next? How can you basically feel is the next generation or the next frontier of that type of field. So we talked about digital twin, for example, right? And we were preparing this talking about that topic. But what will happen in 5 years for basically those data-driven organization? Will they be much more efficient, which seems to be the case? Will they be able to optimize streams that today were done manually with cumbersome, processes? Will we be able to basically de-silo an entire organization and discover something new, right? So from commercial to R&D to tech ops, that kind of thing. So can you give us a little bit of what the future holds for us?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the vision, right? Like we want to make the process simpler and free up like people's time to focus on more value-adding activities. So nobody likes to be extracting, validating data. So the idea is that we have digital twins in place that will help like us make better decisions. So those decisions that like are not relevant or they're like the impact are too small, we can automate them. But the idea is that we free up time from the people to focus on driving more value in the business and growing the business.
And you obviously you do that for as a company for delighting your customer. And we've seen technologies trying to come and drive a different type of customer experience or will give traceability. Like I'm thinking blockchain, for example, in the supply chain. For some reason, this journey, with GenAI being in the horizon to facilitate the interaction between colleagues and humans and so on, it is sticking better in those transformation plan than all the other technology we've seen in the last decades. Can you also tell us why do you think this, I will not call it a transformation, is stronger and staying for sure compared to other attempts, that were promising on paper but complicated to feel on the outcome side. Can you give
Yes.
us your view on this?
Yes, I think like once you have like a strong foundation, Gen AI is the natural way forward, together with like decision intelligence. And like this comes stronger this time because like it just democratize the process. So I mean, today everybody can be like a programmer. So you can program today
Hmm.
like in natural language. So they say the language, the programming language of the future is your language. So it's English, it's Portuguese, Spanish. So we just like created like a lot of more like programmers. Everybody can be a programmer today,
Yeah.
and that just helps us to make things much faster.
It's actually making things faster and simpler to create
Yes.
value. I think this is what you're basically saying is this technology or this emerging technology that is not so super new actually. It's been a journey, as you said. It's sticking and here to stay because it makes us create value faster and simpler than ever before. And I think that
Yes.
will be a good conclusion. Thank you, Rodrigo. I mean, honestly, kudos to you and to your team members, for showcasing. Thank you for being also so kind to be able to showcase the internal of how your company is running. It's impressive. I know a lot of companies that are like looking to do the same, and they are basically trying to inspire themselves. I hope this little deep dive was interesting for them. Also, if people wants to have a question for you, you can basically comment in the under the video below, and I'm going to make sure you are tagged on one of them. If you can answer, that's great. Otherwise, I can understand also you're limited in what you can share publicly about your project. But yeah, that has been great. So hopefully we can meet you again, in the next evolution of your project within Coca-Cola. And yeah, wishing you all the best on a already thriving journey. Thank you, Rodrigo.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.